you send me this?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you'd sent me this or if I'd also just seen it. Because were you for real watching that other video when I sent it to you?
Yeah. The gun range.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it was, right? It was the gun range.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and then you sent it to me. I was like, oh, YouTube's broken. Like, didn't open it. So I closed YouTube, opened up the message again, and went to the same spot I left off in the video. I'm like, fuck, dude, what do I'll just close it again. And I'll close the apps and messages. And I opened it again. I was like, no fucking way. This guy just sent me the same video that I was watching.
Did you see what I said to you? I said, well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to go put my tinfoil hat on now because we're synced. My other message.
It's pretty crazy. I don't think we can get more synced than that.
We're more synced than a sorority house, bro.
Damn. I get what you're saying there.
It's
You know, funny thing is Billie Jean her hormones are like very potent.
You've told me this. They wrangle in those around her. She's the matriarch.
She reactivates. Like women who have gone through menopause will reactivate.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that insane?
Can you sell that service to like Mick Jagger?
I bet we could.
To Mick Jagger and Robert De Niro. De Niro just had a baby.
Spend a week around my wife and it'll help with your, your getting pregnant issues.
Yeah.
Well, lack of getting pregnant issues.
Yeah.
I could probably market that.
People pay a lot of money for all sorts of stuff.
I'll just like walk around behind Billie Jean with like a jar.
Yeah.
And I'll just like catch the air around her and then bottle it up and sell it.
Listen, everybody on the internet's selling snake oil. Why aren't we? And here's my work.
True. That's true.
If yours gives the gift of life.
Yeah. I mean, if it does, then like, what else is there to?
What's the price point on something like that?
I don't know. You should look up like, let's just see if you can.
In vitro's like 15, right?
Yeah. Something like that. I wonder, I'm actually just going to look it up now. No, I'm not. I don't want those Google ads. Anyways,
I'm on it.
Welcome to the Mick and Pat show. I'm Mick. Across from me is my good buddy, old pal, Pat. You know, Pat, I was wondering, and I'm putting you on the spot here. I guess you can edit it out if you don't want to include this, but this is awkward. Do you think we're best friends at this point? Like, do you think with a good, here's how I test if someone's my best friend. I think do over with what I know now about my friends and friends at the time. Would they be in my wedding? And that's how I measure if they're a best friend, if they would be in the lineup of groomsmen.
Right.
And if I would drop someone else off of that to fit in the lineup.
Right. And so are we going singular or are we going like in the circle?
What are you talking about?
Because you're asking if you're my best friend.
No, I'm asking, am I one of your best friends?
That's what I'm saying.
Would I be in the groomsmen lineup?
Right,
would I be in the lineup?
Yeah. Because I would say yes.
Wow. Flattered.
Yes.
I'm going to cry.
I would say so. When putting in a lot of time. I probably, because as you get older, the socializing shrinks.
Yeah.
As well as once you have kids, it shrinks even more. And so
it shrinks a lot.
It does. And so also like, I'd say like, I don't know if I'll ever have like people have like a best friend.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, and that's super cool if you have that. For it's like, he's been my best friend since high school.
Yeah.
We like, just every day we know, like, even when they're 40, they're like, he's coming over and sitting on the front porch, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think I've kind of like in the same way my philosophy's changed around like the one, meaning the one you marry, like as if is only one for you. I think there's billions of people out there who
I think there's at least 5.
At least 5, yeah. But what I'm saying is there's billions of people out there in the world. Yeah. And of billions and billions of people, I'm sure you could have a happy life with many of them. Right. And so
I take the inverse Adam Eve approach. Some people say like, well, yeah, there's the one for you, just like how God, regardless of what you believe, like if you think it's a myth, the idea is like, there was only one for Adam. I'm like, no, that's evidence. That God, regardless of what you believe, like if you think it's a myth, the idea is like, there was only one for Adam. I'm like, no, that's evidence. that you can fall in love and serve and grow old with anyone with enough experience. Because like they didn't have any other options.
Yeah, she wasn't the only one, exactly.
And like I think whatever, but you could argue both sides.
And that's a commitment to being with the one.
Yep.
Now you're with the one. So now that is the one. But prior to that, there's multiple. So same thing with like my best friend philosophy.
Your breast friend?
My breast
friend? That's just your wife, bud.
Yeah, this is true. But my best friends, I have you can be polygamous with
best buddies.
With best buddies.
You can have 3 best buddies over at the house at one time.
Yeah. That's it. I'll tell you what you can't do.
You can't have 3 wives over at the house at the same time.
You cannot.
True.
And I don't even know if I actually want that.
I would never want that. That sounds awful. Someone, this is how I can tell, like, if someone's immature, if they, like, joke about, like, oh, yeah, dude, it'd be sick to have, like, 6 girlfriends. I'm like, you fool.
Yeah.
You fool. You have no idea. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
You probably haven't even had one, because if you've had one, you would know. Like, the idea of another is doing it at the same time is ridiculous.
It's relationships. You got to put in work. You got to put in work, and that's a good thing.
I will say the good relationships, it's good work.
Yeah,
and you enjoy it. But like, all I said, I agree with your subscription. I think there was a time in life where I had like one best buddy, and that was probably seasonal in high school, right? Like it would switch, who was my go-to homie. But with growing through life and stuff, and like college especially, like it became just a group of dudes. And I would say for the most part, that group of dudes is still the same. Actually, like we've done a pretty good job of remaining faithful in those friendships, even if it's like, months to years that we go without like all of us talking to the others. We catch up on like, oh, I spoke to, so-and-so and here's how they're doing. It's like, great. Through proxy.
Yeah.
I know we're good.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that, like when you got low maintenance friendships, like
and the network.
Yeah. And they're not out there wondering like, oh, he hasn't texted me, or he hasn't reached out to me, which there is also like, if you want to keep relationships going, you got to reach out. But at the same time, also you have those people who are like on the other end of the spectrum too far, where it's like, if you're not in this like lots of contact, they feel like the relationship's falling apart. Where I've got some friends who it's great. We're like, I haven't seen or talked to you in a year. And you literally pick it up where you left off. Yeah. And that's great. Like what, and you don't need to carry around the burden or stress of like worrying about, the, how your relationship's doing, checking in on it, as if it was like a relationship with like a girl, you just, hey, we're just going to pick up where we left off. And it's good.
That's one thing I've actually been told is like my like, the thing they talk about at your wedding, like the thing about you, your best man says about you. I've been told by a lot of my friends, like Mick's thing is like loyalty. I can count on him. Like our friendship won't change due to him. Like feeling like we don't talk or something like that. Right. And that's pretty true. Like I legitimately don't think like, man, I'm upset that Joe Schmo hasn't talked to me or something like that, or hasn't responded. I just like, I just think of it in the context of like, oh, dude, I've been thinking a lot about Joe. I should reach out to Joe Schmo. And then I just send him a message, and then I forget that I texted them. Yeah. And I'm delighted when they respond. And that's how I feel like most of my best friends are. You know what I mean? Outside of the ones that are like, weekly in our lives. But
right.
Other than that, yeah, dude, we're best friends. I was thinking about it because I was like, yeah, no, Pat would be in the lineup. Also, I do think like best friend stuff, this is like goes back to like the high school talk. I feel like I've talked about this on here before. You can gauge who your best friend or crush is in high school or middle school, because you're like, if the building was on fire, or like if Al Qaeda attacked our middle school right now, who would I run to try to get out? Like try to help get out. And it's like, it's either a girl that you have a crush on, or it's one of your best homies. And you're like, damn, bro, me and Nate would be getting, I'd run to find Nate. He's my homie, man. I wouldn't want to leave him behind. It's like you're thinking that like as a 7th grader.
And he's outside making out with the cheerleader while you're inside trying to save his ass. No. Yeah. And he's out there just, just worried about his old self.
That's all right.
It happens. That's the way it goes, bro. Sometimes, but loyalty,
bro.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Speaking of which, just following up on news, nothing to do with loyalty, but following up on news. Last week we talked about how there was this guy, Lionel Moreno. I don't really know how to say that name because it's not spelt the way we spell Lionel. Lionel?
It's spelled the same way Messi spells his name.
Oh, really? Lionel Messi?
Lionel, yeah.
All right. Well, Lionel Moreno, who is the illegal immigrant in the U.S. that's famous on TikTok for saying stuff, and he was the one who made the TikTok video telling people how they can take over people's homes that are, empty, renting homes or vacation homes, right? If they just want to go squat in them. Well, he made that video, and ICE has been after him for a while. Yeah. So I saw the video, and they geolocate it, and they were like, Mr. Moreno, you're under arrest, legally living in the U.S., and he's in federal custody now. So just nice little follow up to that. We really didn't like that guy, and he got what was coming to him.
And if you're going to commit a crime, not that you should, consider not posting about it on social media.
Yeah.
We see this all the time, and it's hilarious.
Well, I just also think there's nothing that does more harm to you in a court law situation than the stuff that's on the internet. Bro, if let's just say that guy really did go into someone's house and they were there and they shot him because he's running and yelling in their face, telling them to get out, and he thinks maybe he can push him out or intimidate him, and he doesn't know that Betty Boo got 22 revolver in her purse and gives him a popping. Not that he dies or anything, but she shoots him, he leaves, cops arrest him, right? Goes to court. He loses all the empathy of this migrant with a baby and a family just needing a place to live when they're like, oh, look at his TikTok. He's literally holding his baby, talking about how he there was a couple other videos he did. One of the videos was talking about the leverage of a kid as an asset in the U.S. to get away with shit. And he's just holding his kid the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things you're just dude, I don't think you get it, bro. You lose all of the things that you have going for you in a U.S. court case when you do stuff like that and post on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden they just see a manipulative illegal immigrant trying to escape the system.
Yep.
So anyways, just be smart, people. If you want to be criminals, don't let anyone know you're criminals. That's the thing.
If someday the Mick and Pat show, there's no trace of it anymore all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's because
we're in trouble.
It's because one of us got arrested.
because we're in court.
And we used our one phone call. You get one phone call. It's
smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution.
Mick,
take it down.
Yeah, take it down right away.
What should be the code word, Pat? Like, what's the code word? Like, if you like, I just get like a letter from you in jail, or like a phone call, and like you're just like,
our code word in high school was banana hammock.
So what? Like,
just if it meant
throw away go to my house, burn it down.
It was if you're up to doing something sketchy in the halls.
Yeah.
And a teacher's coming around, like you're about to get caught for it. It is you'd hear someone else yell around, banana hammock, and they just stop what you're stop the fight, whatever, stop the horse round, stop lighting the cigarette, whatever you're doing in the halls, and just ditch it and get out of there.
I like that.
But anyways.
I'll be like, hey Pat, what's going on? I'm about to eat dinner, and you'll be like, Mick, I'm in jail. Banana hammock. Oh my God. Like, just stand up at, like, just look at Billie Jean. She's like, what's going on? They're like, I have to go. I love you. I just go out the door. This is a fictional, hypothetical story. If this warehouse burns down, it was not committed by me and arson. It was a bad wiring. And unfortunately all of our stuff got lost in it. Yeah. Anyways, we don't have like too much that we want to like hit on. It wasn't like a super busy news week, right? With world events, there was some stuff that we want to touch on, but it was also Easter. And with Easters and us being little Christians, little Christ, as Christians translates to, we celebrate Easter. We believe Jesus is risen, and he is in heaven, and he is our savior. And that's what we put our faith in, and that's what we put majority of our stock in here. Actually, probably not majority. We put our stock in that.
A little bit in whatever
we bet on.
A little bit in whatever Nancy Pelosi put in this week.
Yeah, and NVIDIA and Neo puts on Neo Pharmaceuticals. But anywho's, one thing that Pat, you mentioned is just like we've talked about it before, how cool it is to see like the kind of other like podcasts, celebrities, and people we respect becoming believers. And this Easter, Sean Ryan, him and his wife got baptized, which is just cool because he's had a very authentic walk of, converting to Christianity and deciding to become a believer. And I almost believe someone's walk is more genuine. Like, here's one thing, you can never know. You just have faith in God to do the sorting. But when they don't get baptized like right away, I have, like, as a celebrity, this is, I'm talking the context of celebrity. When they don't get baptized right away, I have a little bit more confidence that they're serious about it and are taking time to learn,
consider what
before they're like, yeah, put me under the water without, like, I don't even know what this book says, but dunk me. Right. You know what I mean? And so, all I said, I was excited about it. Yeah. And there's a couple other, people who are talking about it, but
for sure. Did I talk about on here we talked about Sean Ryan's conversion some. I don't know if I talked about kind of some of my experience watching it happen. But so, started listening to him, whatever, year and a half, 2 years ago. When he started showing up in my YouTube shorts, I was like, who is this guy? So sharing these cool stories. And he's awesome stories of all sorts of different types of people. And lots of it's of the special operator type flavor, which is always fun stories to listen to. But then he brings in other people too. But all of a sudden, about a year into it, there just was this trend of like all these people coming on who had like incredible stories. And then like when he'd dig into them about like how they made it or how they come back from these things and all this, like, these hard things or what gave them strength, like they hadn't like professed their faith yet at that point, but they very just simply would say like, it's my faith in Jesus, or like, it's like, I follow God and he gives me strength. And like, and the podcast wasn't around a testimony of their faith. It was telling their story. Yep. And their faith came up out of it. And so he like,
and to note this too, Sean Ryan he was a big The Universe guy. That's just the universe, brother. Yeah. Maybe the universe is telling me something, and because he's done like some psychedelics and stuff, searching for God.
Right. And he has an interesting like walk coming to, because also he grew up Catholic, then was very uninterested in faith, and then had a life as an operator and CIA, contractor, and then like for a while just went and did like cocaine in South America for like a couple of years, and like pretty like disgruntled with with life, I think, and then coming back around. And so and lots of these people who were coming on to talk to him some of them were his friends, and some of them were acquaintances, and he didn't even know about like the power of their faith in their life. And I could hear his curiosity unfolding over the course of these 6 months or whatever. It's just like you could tell, like he stopped asking. He wasn't necessarily asking interview questions to keep the interview going. He was asking questions that he wanted to know more about, like for himself. Like he wasn't driving a narrative in an interview. He was engaging it like with earnest curiosity. And a huge snowstorm happened last Christmas ago or something. I was home for Thanksgiving or Christmas, whatever. And a year ago, I was plowing my dad's driveway, and I was listening to his interview with this guy named Eddie Penny, who started talking about a lot of his faith testimony. And like, I was like just praying while I was driving. I just started praying. I was like, Lord, like Sean Ryan, this dude has influence. This dude has a huge reach. Like the works he could do for you well beyond what me or many other people could do.
Opportunity.
Because of his opportunity and stuff. And then also for himself, and like to see this guy who has been on a long journey, and he's a guy who deals with anger issues big time. He can't even control it sometimes. Something triggers him on the show, and he just starts going. He just spouts off about it. He can't help it. He has passion, which is awesome, but you can tell he struggles with like anger and struggles with that stuff. And so I was just like, I was just praying, like, like Lord, like, and I do this for a lot of celebrities too. I was just like, Lord, that guy, grab hold of him, please. And it was like 2 months later, he this tweet comes out where he just says, "Hey guys,
today I'm reading the Bible."
He's like, "Today I'm reading the Bible," and then a couple weeks later, he's like,
"I feel like it was I think it was the next day."
Yeah, it was pretty fast. He's like, "I don't know what happened, but I'm a Christian." Pretty much was like,
I remember like seeing them on YouTube, like because I don't have Twitter and stuff, and I just was seeing him posting his screenshots from Twitter. And he was like, "Today I decided to do something I've never done before. I'm going to sit down and read the Bible." And then it's like, the next day is like, the amount of truth in this book is undeniable. It has answers I've looked for a long time and could not find. Next day, I am undeniably ready to give my life to Jesus. It was like so fast. It was awesome. You could tell he was like, "Damn, dude, this is some power here."
And so I shot him a message, and he just on Instagram, I was like, I'm shooting him a message. Screw it. I was like, I've been seeing your posts about going to church. Wanted to reach out to you with encouragement. A few months back, after listening to your podcast for a while, I asked that Christ would come for you and reveal himself to you. I say this not from any position of claiming any credit, because it's Christ who calls us, but from a place of humility. I just wanted you to know that he has been at work in your life, and people care about you. Just shot that over, and he didn't respond. That's okay.
That is okay.
But on his next on his next podcast that came out, he was just like addressed it. He was like, "You guys have no idea how many messages I received that you were praying for me to become a Christian." He was like, "I'm overwhelmed at the amount of people out there who were praying for me." He's like, "It's just incredible." So like, and so like I said, there's like no credit to me, but just like this, like,
cool to be a part of it.
Cool to be a part of it, and the power of prayer, and like watching something unfold, watching people's minds open up and change, and watching them really become tilled soil. That's like a big thing about like some people do have like a road to Damascus,
scales fell from his eyes.
Like a Saul to Paul moment where they're converted, and then for lots of other guys, it's like you're more like you're the Peter guy, and you're just like, you got to be tilled up for a long time. You got to keep on getting ground up and prepared for those things to be planted and then come out in you. And so Sean Ryan is just, I was excited about it, and it's been cool to watch him like engage it and also like continue in it, and we'll talk more about this later, because I think that it's celebrity type Christians, and Sean Ryan probably doesn't even consider himself really like a celebrity, but in many ways, like he does have a huge following. He is an influencer.
He's like has he been top one yet on podcast for Apple or Spotify?
I think he's been, depending on your metrics, he's been up there.
I know he's like consistently number like 3 or number 2 at times. I just don't know if he's like held that number 1 spot for any amount of time. Enough
that like a lot of people tuning into that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so
it's huge following.
So I think it's cool to see happen, especially for people who, it gives a testament to Christ and who he is and how people can change. Because being someone who did like grow up in the church, my testimony is just different in that, it has its own story and its own value. But the story, like a lot of these people who we see start coming to Christ, they are able to identify with and engage with an audience that wouldn't necessarily want to hear from me about like, I grew up listening to Bible stories and I still think it's cool, right? Like that sort of thing. So, we, cause some other people who started like kind of outwardly professing their faith, Alan Richardson from Reacher, and I also think his first big role is Blue Mountain State.
Yeah, which I don't know when he became a believer, but because I don't think it was like recently, but he's been doing the Insta Church YouTube channel for a while.
And I think
I think is his way of being in church. I think it's his way of having fellowship with Christians, because he's mentioned on there several times, like due to acting, it's like almost impossible for him to get into a church on Sundays for like a regular service, right? Because he's just filming. He's just filming and on set a lot and traveling.
A lot of stuff right now.
Yeah.
And I think it was semi-recent in that, like, at least grabbing hold of his faith greater, because he's wrestled with suicide.
Yeah, he's bipolar.
Diagnosed bipolar. And so, and his faith is what he says, like, is the thing that does keep him grounded and holding on to things. But then we have other people who are like tiptoeing around the faith and wondering about it, and Jordan Peterson, I think, and I think that he has a lot of like Judeo-Christian values, and because he has a wide open mind, he can, or because of the way his mind thinks and works, it aligns well with like a systematic theology thinking and things like that. So he's able to like understand it and see the value in it. But I don't know that he's come to a place of like grace and freedom.
I was going to say, I think the issue is that Jordan Peterson, from what I understand of just like his understanding of Christianity, Judaism, and the world and the mind, I think he recognizes his depravity a lot, and I don't think he doesn't come off to me as someone who, I don't worship guy. I haven't consumed every single thing he said, right? But I have listened to a decent amount of his talks, I guess. Especially, I listened to way more of his early stuff that was just him in the classroom speaking, and I've listened to interviews. But he seems to me as someone who struggles with can I be saved because I do understand my sin. You know what I mean? And he seems like, I think for him, the hurdle might be more his ability to accept grace for the depravity of mankind than it is like I just don't know if I can justify the logic behind it.
And I think too, like, of like Jesus being a good example and a good thing, but like being like, did he rise from the grave?
Yeah.
I don't like my like line of logic and my line of thinking would say no, right? Or and or something that intellectuals struggle with would be like, okay, the world is a big place. It's been around for a long time. So how can something that happened to a very small little subsect group of people be like the thing that was the answer for all of mankind's needs? It's the question I think through myself too at times, but like, so I think that can be a hang up as well for going for how people think through these things. And it's very easy to say Christianity and its like basic tenets is good living, 10 commandments, whatever. But that's like, but like Jesus didn't come to bring the 10 commandments. He came to like do something even crazier, bigger and different than that, and more radical. and yet more freeing. And so it's like it's taken that next step, because I think that with a lot of like celebrity Christians too, they actually just fall under being good people.
We're just interested. Maybe never really change the lifestyle. Yeah, I don't know. I also I'm one of those people who just doesn't put a whole ton of stock in it until I feel like I see like legitimate, transparent like fruit, right? And I guess I just feel like with, Alan Richson and Sean Ryan, I can see fruit, and I'm not saying that the Biebs or Shia LaBeouf ain't saved or something, or they're not legitimate. I'm just saying it's a lot harder at that level of celebrity to see fruit. And that's really how I judge from like from an individual person's level of like understanding like where someone's faith is at and if it comes off as genuine. At the same time, it doesn't matter that much, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter that much to our own individual daily walk. Right.
Like, because and I agree that, like we shouldn't put them on pedestals, because, and these are some points that I was even going to get into more in a second, because I want to talk about one more person first, which was really two people in particular, but Joe Rogan has been touted lately by like Christian influencers as like, is Joe Rogan following Jesus now? And I would say no. But I think
you might be interested.
I think a fair answer is, if Joe Rogan 2024 talked to Joe Rogan 2019 about what they thought about faith and religion, they'd have two different answers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I think similar to like Sean Ryan's interview guests opening his curiosity, I think that Rogan had a lot of he just have a lot of like kind of your standard quips and comebacks for like why like Christianity is wrong, which it's very easy to do. It's, talking about institutionalized religion, stuff in the Catholic Church, stuff in the Baptist Church, these things of hypocrites and people, and like, it's very easy to tear down Christianity based upon its institutions and its downfalls of individuals who are not Jesus. They are people. So, that's a whole nother conversation around, institutionalized religion. But like, then like Joe Rogan today, after like hanging out with, I think he's hung out and interviewed a lot more people who he's found he respects, who have faith.
Yeah.
And so the people who have faith and he respects, he's able to now be like, not just more open-minded to it, but I think it's paradoxical or confusing for someone like him to say, okay, like I want to be like that person more, or I really appreciate that person more, and like,
or even if I don't appreciate them, like I don't deny their logic,
right? And then to go, is there validity to this thing? Because one thing he's talked about for a long time is being all out there on aliens, extraterrestrial, like other out there things, bigger, wider universe things, which actually we've talked about this before, lends itself to, that opens yourself to a conversation about God, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
And so, with him, I don't know where, I'd say I probably do know where he stands in some ways, as far as he hasn't outwardly like proclaimed stuff, but I think it's interesting to watch his like progression. And wouldn't that be wild if all of a sudden one day he just is like, guys, I'm following Jesus?
I mean, it'd be outside of like anything else, I'd just be happy for him, because I genuinely do think, I agree with it. Like what you're saying is like, he just seems like he's become a much more balanced and peaceful person. I just remember he used to be very like vehement about religion as a whole. And he just seems like, as time has gone on and as society has behaved it the way it has, he seems like he's realized like, it'd probably be good if more people actually subscribe to a moral code that we all shared, you know, and like he seems like he's following the path of like the logical, philosophical path of like benefits of religion versus like who's right or who's wrong about XYZ. Right. You know what I mean? And so I kind of like, I don't know. All that said, like, I'll keep praying for him. And when he becomes a believer, that doesn't change what you and I do, right? That shouldn't change what any of us do. We should just be like, cool, keep praying for him, and keep sharing the gospel with other people.
Right. Definitely.
Russell Brand was the other one though, right? Because he's looks hungry for the gospel,
and
bro.
He's outwardly and openly been like, this is my thing now. Yeah. Because I didn't know about that till last night when this video popped up. He was talking about Good Friday, and he just like, I don't know why it gave me goosebumps. Maybe because I feel like he was speaking truth, and it was just interesting to see this guy. And he's had the arc of Russell Brand has been quite the arc. You could do a whole 3-hour breakdown on like from forgetting Sarah Marshall to now or whatever.
Excellent movie. Excellent movie. Probably like, I think I made that movie my wife's favorite rom-com.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And so, but he just was like, and it also is because it's very easy for people to get up and just say, generally good things. Like we're saying about Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, and I was talking about the Ten Commandments. It's like, yes, it's very easy to just say, yeah, these are good things, good ways to live your life. Like, and yeah, like people don't dispute those things, but the power of Jesus and the power of in Christianity lies in really a much deeper thing. And it looked to me like the way Russell Brand talked in that video was like he was in those next steps of like just going beyond that, like, let's be good people. And he was like examining the heart of man and why Christ came and for the deeper things. And so it was just interesting to me, and I was like, man, I need to see more about this. So I've watched a couple of videos he did and stuff, and like we'll see like where that goes. And I think he's very much kind of like I think like Shia LaBeouf, who's like he deals with a lot of just being an eccentric person. You like have a lot of mood swings and ideology swings and things like that too. And so we'll see where all that goes. But I don't know, have you noticed that Christians are very quick to adopt somebody as a Christian?
Oh yeah.
It's just like they're like, oh, did you hear he's a Christian? Like, as if that's proof in Christianity, which is or proof for a case of God and Christ. If
Kanye, bro.
Yeah, like when he did, or like and I think too when like Shia LaBeouf came out, said something, or Justin Bieber, whatever, different people, it's like this like, and I do think it's cool and can be powerful, but like people put too much stock in these people who profess their faith, because I've seen it with the most influential, powerful type people down to the most lowly, kind of people in the world, where they're all about it. They're high on life, and that seed gets choked out in the rocks and in the things of life, and the birds come and eat that seed, and it goes away. And because really they're just little weak babies. And so I think about that for all these people.
Not insulting,
right?
Like that's as a new believer, Scripture says.
Yes, thank you.
They are like a baby that they need milk and honey, and they need you to kind of like gently help them understand the things that might be difficult to accept about Christianity or something, and nurture them. If you mentor them, if you give a 2-month-old a rare piece of steak, like $120 steak, might choke on it.
They might choke on it, or it's going to upset their stomach. They're going to spit it out. It's not going to be good for them.
And then a bird will come and get them.
Yeah. You give it but you give like 50-year-old man that rare steak. Man, that is good.
He might still like milk and honey,
and he likes it too.
But he likes the tough meat.
But that steak hits the spot on there. So, with new baby celebrity Christians, I pray for them, because they're also going to be under attack more than others. Like just because they're in the limelight, I think both like in the physical and in the supernatural, they will be under an attack, because that's what, the easiest thing is, so such and such becomes a Christian. Oh, did you hear this came out that now he had an affair or embezzled money or whatever? Like, and it's so quick to like, then now we can tear down their faith and like, oh, see, that wasn't even real. He didn't even follow Jesus. He messed up.
Well, I think that's just the thing too, is like celebrities, they're the things that the Bible and, Christianity would label as sin, are often glorified. And it's, once they become a Christian, all that is very visible, very clear, and everyone likes to bring it back up. And yes, scandals do come out, and like, you know, I'll say rightfully so. Like, if a celebrity becomes a Christian and then a scandal comes out that, you know, there's evidence and there's reason to believe like, oh, they hurt someone, they should face those consequences. Like, just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you don't face the consequences of your actions.
Right. But it doesn't negate the validity of their faith.
Exactly. Right. And like, I think that's one thing too that I see more clearly when a celebrity becomes a believer is that they get caught off guard because someone hasn't prepared them for the world will hate you. You know, like that's a promise, dude. Like if you love Jesus, the world will hate you. Yeah. And you know, I think that's something that is way more clearly seen at that level. Right. Like I remember, here's the thing too. I'll just say this: like I still, until I hear it from Kanye himself, I still believe that man trusts in Jesus, and I think he's mentally ill. I think he's mentally in need of help, and I think that doesn't negate the fact that he trusts in Jesus. Right. But like the fact is like, I think I saw that very clearly with him when like, you know, his wife wanted to leave him afterwards and she's the one that got the divorce stuff. And his record label, you know, was kind of like, oh dude, like this record's not selling. And you're talking a lot about Jesus on it. And he faced a lot of like backlash from fans and stuff. And like, I've never been a big Kanye fan. I've never listened to a ton of his music, but I definitely feel like when he started wanting to do stuff and implement his faith, his newfound faith and, you know, his livelihood is when I saw like, dude, the world does not like that guy. Yep.
And like the things he said in like recent news would be like, he's not necessarily a representative of Christ.
Yeah.
And
which is why I say that's the mental illness stuff, I think,
exactly.
You know?
And his like shortcomings as a human. And then to say also like someone who maybe wants to progress. And because I was thinking about you're talking about how it's harder. And it's like the story of a rich young ruler in the Bible, you know, and this guy comes to Jesus and he's like, I've done everything good. Like I'm doing all the good stuff. He names off all the 10 commandments. I've kept all these things, you know, and Jesus just tells him, he's like, all right, that's good. Now go sell everything and come follow me. And he's like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And he walks away sad, you know, and it's just this, you know, very much so celebrities fall into the rich young ruler category of like,
oh, sure.
You've got the world at your fingertips and you got to let the world go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that can be, because then right after that, Jesus goes on to say, it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God than to stick the camel through the eye of a needle, right? So like he's saying like it's very difficult for you know, someone who has it all, has everything, to relinquish those things. And I think it's true. And so that's why I do think we find celebrities, you know, and people in power who also they come on hot and strong, and then they can fall pretty hot and strong too, in that same way. But all that to say, it's just interesting to watch these people. It's encouraging to see people do these things and like to find faith. And then also it's like, I am always in prayer for those folks because they're up in a battle.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. Yep. Pivoting on some Judeo-Christian world news. But just some stuff that came out about Israel. You know, we try to keep the news stuff like rather relevant to what we're talking about, and this will be quick, you know, because we don't want to spend too much time on this, and you know, we have other stuff we want to discuss. But yeah, so Israel today, like, and I guess when you guys are hearing this, it'll be about a week later. But Israel is suspected of a missile strike against an Iranian embassy in Syria that took out 7 Iranian military officials, and 3 of them were like military commanders. One of them was a top general overseeing the weapon shipments from Tehran into Syria to arm Hezbollah. And a lot of people are worried this is going to escalate beyond proxy war between Israel and Iran to like an actual retaliatory stuff. But yeah, we'll see what happens and falls out from that. But Israel declined on saying that, you know, this was them.
Yeah.
But they did say we did stop an Iranian's weapons shipment effort to the West Bank on Monday, which is like, I don't know. Like, we declined to comment on that missile strike, but we did stop a guy trying to get weapons into Hezbollah.
Yeah.
What? Anyways, if you're interested in that, there's a lot of news pieces at that. The videos that I've mainly watched are coming out of Reuters for the Israel bombs Iran embassy in Syria, killing commanders. If y'all want to look it up and listen to the news yourself. They did say, Iran's ambassador in the area did say like Iran, they're going to retaliate and it'll be swift and it'll be harsh. Which, is to be expected. I mean, that's what any nation does if another nation takes out one of their top generals, right? Like you got to retaliate to not look weak.
Or at least say you're going to.
Yeah, or at least say you're going to, and then put the bomb in someone else's hands. Hot potato it. But that said, though, I noticed this last week, a lot of people in our little small town here were really pissed because in our small town, I'm sure, we're not the only town experiencing this. There's a lot of people who, for some reason, think our city council needs to have a bill and a vote to have a ceasefire in Gaza. And like a lot of us are like, yeah, we want the war to stop.
Yeah,
we don't want innocent people to die, but like we are also aware enough that no one gives two F's about about our town being like, we motion for the ceasefire. And it's just like, who? What?
She doesn't even go here.
Yeah, exactly. And this week, this protesting, they went in with red graffiti, like red spray paint, just spray painted ceasefire for Gaza on businesses, and what they assume is the city owns it, I think, right? But it's really like business property that like our city council, local government just tells the business owners you have until this deadline to clean this graffiti off, otherwise you're gonna have a fine. And like, so like all the small town business owners are like, F this in this like effort to whatever these people are going for, I'm not with it, because now I have to spend my money to clean up their graffiti, their what's the term? Vandalism.
Yeah.
And they have no accountability to it. And they think this is doing something to win people over when it's really just making more people pissed.
I hope that was store owners who,
a lot of it was. We're like, a lot of store owners, I was on the Reddits, and a lot of them were like, look, man, like I'm as far left as it goes, but this is bullshit. Like,
that's good because
my salon doesn't have anything to do, any power to stop this.
It'll bring them to the light on how some of that protesting is silly.
I mean, and it just makes me so mad because these people who are doing this in our town aren't going to be here in the next 6 months to 4 years,
and have no have no real influence within their own circles, cities, states, worlds. Like, yeah,
they're here in a college town for a season of time, usually 4 to 6 years, and then they leave. And so like, there's just no accountability for their actions, right? Because it's not their hometown, right? And so it just really frustrates me. But on that note too, not like this isn't fear mongering or anything, but like we saw the terror attack in Russia last week, ISIS-K attacking that city hall, and the Russian officials are actually like, after their interrogations and research, are like warning the U.S. like, hey, just so you know, like these guys are telling us that there's plans for the U.S. too. Like they're and so a lot of people are starting to a lot of national officials are across the U.S. and Europe are paying attention to this, because ISIS-K really did not have this ability to do an operation like this a couple years ago. And this just shows the Taliban aren't able to keep ISIS-K under control. Like a lot of people thought with the pullout from Afghanistan, that the government that would come into place there would kind of be able to choke down these more radical and out of control terrorist groups. And they just haven't been able to do it. it was interesting. I was reading it too. The Russian officials commented that while that city hall attack occurred, they successfully were thwarting another ISIS-K attack plot in Moscow that was targeting a synagogue. So it's like it was a two-tiered attack plan with two separate groups, and it's just kind of like a whack-a-mole issue of like it's the classic terrorist cell thing. This is how they operate, and the idea is like you cut off one head, there's another one striking somewhere else. So all that said, just stuff to pay attention in the news and be reading about to stay informed. World's a crazy place right now. And what's also crazy, kind of funny, is Oregon signed a bill this week that was recriminalizing drugs that were originally decriminalized a couple of years ago. Oregon out of COVID passed this bill that were like, so like no longer a crime to have small amounts of possession of drugs.
Of heavy narcotics.
If you're a dealer, we'll get you. But if you're a user, don't worry, not a crime. And with that, the governor just signed this bill, and it essentially is like, if you get caught with small amount of drugs like fentanyl or other like opioids, heavy drugs, it's a misdemeanor charge up to 6 months in jail. And I was just interested because like a lot of people I know have touted that this bill was going to be good and that it has been good and that the statistics back it up, that it didn't increase. Bill. Yeah. That it didn't increase violent crime, that it decreased drug usage and criminal and like whatever XYZ. And in the words of Kurt Russell from The Hateful Eight, I say horse shit.
Yeah, dude.
Horse shit. Because statistics show that from 2020 to 2022, when the bill was passed, overdose deaths with these types of drugs increased 75% in Oregon.
That's a lot of percents.
Violent crime increased 17% in Oregon during that time, while decreasing at a national level. And it's not just Oregon. It's like Colorado has had a thing like this. Pennsylvania, New York, California, all of them are seeing the same kind of stats coming out of it. Colorado's is not nearly as much like in the violent crime spike compared to the national stuff. Like we're still actually a little bit under, but we're about to cross over. But the suicide and OD rates are above the national level. So just goes to show like everyone
drugs
said, like,
are bad.
Everyone was like, hey, some common sense here indicates that this will not work. And people are like, no, you're wrong. You're an idiot. And then now they're like, I don't care. Under the carpet, back that up.
This did not,
roll that back.
This did not work. Back it up. And
it's exactly like the defund police stuff, where like all those departments are now getting like twice the amount of funding they had beforehand to try to catch up.
Yeah, and triple the amount of calls that they were having. It just seems like it should go without saying, like that drugs should be illegal.
Feels like some Emperor's New Clothes stuff.
And here's the deal. Should you go to jail for multiple years of your life for a bag of weed?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Probably not. Because you could smoke a whole bag of weed and not die. You could give it to your buddy and he would not die either. But should you be smoking weed? Maybe, probably not. But
I mean, the latest big study on where it's legalized says it is like one of the highest leading causes, like habitual marijuana use. Highest leading causes to cardiac arrest now.
Really?
Amongst the population that uses
People are just high all the time and they're jacking their hearts up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it, because I would imagine your heart rate doesn't go up that much while stoned.
It's because you eat more Fat Shack.
I don't know. Maybe. Your cholesterol levels get up higher from the Cheetos.
Munchies.
Just handfuls of Cheerios out of the box.
Yep. But fentanyl, heroin, meth, these things. Like the thing I was saying was, you shouldn't have your life taken away and be jailed for like certain things. But even like in this case, going to jail for 6 months for being caught with these heavy narcotics. If the jail system, that's one thing that needs to be addressed. Yeah. It's the jail system. But 6 months, that gives you time to clean up. That gives you time. Yep. Like if you're an addict and you want out of being an addict, now you can get drugs in prison too. But it's harder. And
I will say it seems way harder at a local jail level. Like,
right.
This would, you just go to jail. You won't even go to prison. Right. So it's like, I think the jail programs are way better at about keeping stuff out than the prison programs.
Yep, I agree. And that seems like 6 months to clean up your stuff. That could be great for you.
Yeah.
And it's great to get it off the street. And it's great that you didn't die. And like it just makes sense.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see how it goes. We'll see if, what's it? Che? Is the city inside of
Chaz?
Portland? Is Chaz still?
No, dude, that is way gone.
It's way gone.
We got to talk about Chaz.
Chaz will live in our hearts forever.
Dude, Chaz to me was like, I was just like, yes, let it break down. So that way everyone can see we don't want that. Like, let it break down in a small area with people who think it's going to be okay. So that way the rest of the world can see it and be like, yeah, okay, so we all knew that Venezuela is not what we wanted, and here it is in small scale in America, and we still agree it's not what we want.
Yep. And the only things about it, the only reasons why it could last as long as it did or be as quote unquote good as it was for a short time, because it was insulate the communism, socialism only functions well or has a chance at functioning within a capitalist bubble. Yeah. Meaning they're like,
true.
Like there's poop all over the roads and all this is over the streets. What are we going to do?
Good thing we pay someone a good amount of money to clean it up.
Or good thing a nonprofit dropped off these porta potties.
Yeah.
Who was funded by people with jobs.
Yeah.
Or like, like this is like, whatever, like we kind of getting low on food. Oh, well, good thing there was a guy who 6 months ago harvested some corn.
Yeah.
And now whatever, someone's going to donate eventually to you from their pantry who went out and bought it with their money. Like it only can exist within the capitalist bubble, in my opinion. That's a very short-sighted and like unbroken down argument. But for Chaz, it's like this, it's a good thing that we got to see what it's like you said, what it's like to be Venezuela.
And good news though, there is a drug that's good for you, which is not what Joseph R. Nemeth says. He's a doctor on YouTube who just reviews stuff. But he says it's way better for you than the other options. But I just choose to hear him saying it's good. I'll let the little short play here, but it's his take on Zen and the risks and benefits with Dr. Nemeth.
Have you guys heard about this stuff? It's called Zen. I want to talk about the potential benefits and the potential risks. Apparently, it's very popular. I've been talking to some people who've used it. I tried a little bit yesterday, and I was a zombie for about a half an hour. You put it on your gum. It goes directly into the bloodstream. And if you do it in the same place, it can cause irritation, but it does not need the typical cancer warning when one is using a tobacco product. But I do think if you use it in the same spot all the time, it could cause gum recession. Generally, younger people are using it, and it feels like it makes them sharper, heightens their sense of awareness. It's very effective, better than smoking, better than vaping also, because, again, you're not inhaling anything, but can be habit forming. And for people who are addiction prone, I think this can be very, very dangerous.
Nope.
Have you?
Psych. Just kidding. Not addiction prone. Good addictions, like taking it in order to go poo and taking it right before bed so you go to bed at a good time.
You sent me that while I was on the toilet.
I did.
And
I sent it to you while I was on the toilet.
Really? we're so synced up.
Wow, dude, that's crazy.
And the images in this video are the B-roll is of like multiple Zen cans, my signature flavor being sprinkled, like multiple pouches being sprinkled around and stuff, and people putting in these upper deckers, and I just was like, my heart rate went up. I was looking on my watch, and like my heart rate had increased, and my can was out of reach, but I was in mid loaf, and I just it was just a very real, palpable moment to say, I am addicted to this.
Sure. Yeah.
My body had just like the fact that also like I didn't just want it in my brain. My body's heart rate like started, I could feel it in my arms and my fingers that I wanted it. So it's yeah.
Mine's very like, I'm not going to say I'm not addicted, but my addiction I think is just much more like regimented. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really desire it outside of my usual, like, I want it when I feel like I need to go number 2, and I want it before I go to bed. And the rest of the time, I never really feel a craving for it. I'll just, you know, throw one in for, honestly, just oral fixation's sake. Because, like, right now, I've drank in all my liquid death, and now I need something else to do while you talk.
Yeah.
But, anyways, all I said, that's kind of the news in the show here, I feel like. But one thing I did want to say, because we do talk about, you know, firearms and preparedness and all that jazz. I decided to invest in this thing called the dry fire mag. And oh my gosh, has it not been fun as freaking heck. And I think I'm going to throw out some, like, you know, some shorts on the YouTube account side of it, of just like some like actual legitimate like methods of practicing and training with it. But this company, Dry Fire Mag, makes magazines, and you know, this isn't sponsored, but I'd love for it to be. They got an affiliate program that I'm looking into. But their magazines with like a spring and a little lever that allows you to actuate the trigger as if it was reset and cycled from firing it around, and it keeps you from having to rack your slide every time when you're doing dry fire practice, and it helps eliminate that aspect of training because you don't want that to become a habit forming technique for when you're actually using your firearm and racking out good live rounds. And so all that said, it's been really fun. Billie Jean's been helping me out with it. And one thing that I really enjoyed was she would stand behind me, and she had a timer on her phone, and I would be looking at the spice rack in our kitchen. And our spice rack isn't on a little, what's that little spinny thing called? It's
Lazy Susan.
Lazy Susan. I knew it had a lady's name. It's not a spice rack on a Lazy Susan, but it's spices along the wall on shelves. You can see all their nice little black labels that Billie Jean has made for them, and it's very aesthetically pleasing, and they're kind of color coded. Like the spices, the color of the spices are, you know, the ones that match are on one shelf, and then at the top you have like a different one, right? And so she would pick one at random, and she would say it, hit the timer. I would have to then find it, and once I found it, draw, put around, like put a little clicker in here for the people listening. That little click sound is the sound of the trigger clicking and decompressing and the lever actuating. And once I clicked, she would stop the timer, and then we just would aggregate the times and how I did it. It was really fun. It felt like great practice for actually practicing draw safely, identifying the target right, with training. Yeah. And then getting that nice good trigger control. And it's pretty great because you feel a click when you decompress the trigger. And so you can kind of use that to help understand, like, are you pushing, are you pulling, how's your trigger discipline? But then you also get a click for like the feeling of a reset, and you can identify if you're flinching or wobbling when you come off the trigger, and how it would affect your follow-up shots. And so all that said, I really love it. It's been great fun. I've probably used it 1,000 times already, so that's like 1,000 reps. And
how much money is that saved if you're doing that live?
If you're getting, you know, decent range 9mm, not decent, but just cheap 9mm to practice with,
$150.
Well, it's now I think it's like sitting at like 20 cents a round, and so that's $200 right there. So all that said, I really like it. They don't make them for everything, but they do make them for Glocks and XDs and Smith & Wesson MPs. So take a look at them, and hopefully that they will be a useful practice and training tool for you. Because we're all about being responsible gun owners and safe gun owners, but also, you know, being legitimately practicing, prepared individuals. And you can make it a fun game with your spouse. So... Anyways, Pat, that's what I got. I really just wanted to hit that there, you know?
No, I think that's great. I'm going to get one.
You got to get a gun that can take one.
I know it. They do have one that fits one of mine. Just one
really?
that doesn't fit my main
Your main jam.
My main deal. Which is okay. Just got to buy more.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a different gun so that I can then get my dry fire mag going.
Yep.
Sounds like a good plan. Sounds like a need.
Yeah.
Not a want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in and sitting with us this evening. We've been, as we've been covering all sorts of stuff, we hit a bunch of different all different topics tonight, but check us out we've got the website. Check us out on YouTube. Leave us a review on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen, and that helps get the show out there. And we've been talking about it for a while and saying we're going to do more dog-ear dialogues.
Yeah, I was just thinking
and I think it's about time for another one soon, which I've said before, like a year ago. But
was it a year ago?
I mean, no, not a full year, but some time. But we're still, bringing out brews and reviews and our standard show, and we're gonna, throw out I think it's about time for a dog-ear dialogue, maybe another little mini series like the fatherhood, the fatherhood series. And so those things, when we have a little bit more time, we'll put them together and send them out to you. But thanks for tuning in, and we hope that you are enjoying it as much as we are.
Till next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.